right, college football frenzy is on.
Let's go.
There's
You ready to roll? Let's rock.
I'm ready to rock. There's a lot going on in the world, but on the sports side of the world,
oh yeah,
we're down to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
We'll cover the stuff that makes me go to sleep first. All right, here are the four teams that are playing. So Notre Dame, Penn State is playing, and then Texas is playing Ohio State. Which, I mean, Ohio State is rolling, dude. They blew the doors off of Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the game?
I did not watch the whole game. What I will say is this. I was saying this from day one. If Oregon and Ohio State saw each other again, Ohio State lost to Oregon week 1. I didn't think Oregon deserved to be number 1, but because they beat Ohio State the first game of the year and then went undefeated, Oregon never does well. Like, I'm sorry, they don't in the playoffs. They just don't. They don't have.
Why is it?
I don't know why it is, but they just don't. Period. And I knew if Ohio State saw them again, they would knock the dog snot out of them, and they did.
Too many California guys, maybe.
I don't know if that's the case because you got some good California guys. I mean, look at when USC was great. Look at when I don't know what's going on with the West Coast. West Side.
Well, West Coast is soft as hell, but there are there are 4 or 5 elite high school teams there that tons of Division I players come from. So those teams are probably shooting out a lot of great players. Probably some of Oregon. I don't know. It's hard to understand. Like, they have every resources. I mean, so I'm sure Ohio State does too. They probably have. Like, I can't figure it out, but they never can win the big game. They can never win the big game. It's like they always get out physical at the point of attack by either an SEC team or I know they're in the Big Ten, quote unquote. But they're
not a Big Ten team. They don't understand the grind. They're used to. I think Oregon's. I think they can.
Maybe eventually play in the Big Ten. They will get there. Maybe.
Yeah, and I think they'll learn the ins and outs and the struggles of having to play even your worst game against Northwestern, who's supposedly not good, but yet Northwestern could knock you off. Whereas when they play, in the Pac-12 or whatever that conference called now, they play in that conference, you're going to get 1 or 2 easy weeks. You're not getting that in the Big Ten. No way. Oh, same thing in the SEC. You're not getting it.
No, you're not. And the SEC, though, like, that's a whole interesting thing too. Like, only Texas is the only SEC team who's really not, or the new SEC team. That's really a Big 12 team.
That's surprising.
Yeah, although they had Arizona State, so I don't know if their road was as tough, but
it was not. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Clemson, not good. Arizona State, overachieved. Had a great running back.
Great running back.
I believe Ohio State is going to trump them. I truly do.
Yeah, like I think the fact that Arizona State's like the running back Scadaboo and the quarterback there and the line there was really able, even though they're undersized completely, that they were able to tough it out basically to get back in that game and should have won it against Texas. Tells me that Texas ain't that good. Like
agreed.
I mean, they just completely out-toughed them like that. Like,
Dave, I'm telling you, man, dude, the Big Ten this year is different. It is different, without a doubt. I don't see Notre Dame. I mean, potentially I can.
I think Notre Dame's go. I think Notre Dame's gonna win, but I could see how Penn State could win. I mean, I could I wouldn't be shocked. It would not shock me at all if it was Penn State, Ohio State, just off of how they're playing. Ohio State. I mean, Penn State's playing great.
Yeah,
Penn State's playing great, and they got their team is tough. Like they have a tough team. They got that tight end is do everything kind of guy. That's the attitude of their team. And I mean, Ohio State has just the talent too,
right.
Big difference.
Yeah. And that's where I think, so let me ask you this. Do you think, how does Texas beat Ohio State?
I think Texas could beat Ohio State. See, I think the problem for Texas, the only reason why I'm having a hard time seeing it is because I don't think Texas defense is that good. But and Ohio State has a great offense. The only way I could see it is if they forced the quarterback to make a lot of mistakes, because supposedly Texas' D-line is phenomenal. If they could force the quarterback into mistakes, which he had against Michigan, you can force them into mistakes. If you stunt their run game, which it seemed like to me Texas had a hard time. They just got, Scottaboo just ran wild on them. But, maybe they were up 24-8 and probably not, maybe, I don't know. I don't know these kids now, are they playing as hard when they're up that high? And then all of a sudden they're shot, you sneak up on them. They're like, whoa. Yeah. But I think that's what would have to happen. I think they would have to shut down the passing game. I think Ohio State's going to try and run, and if they have success running, Texas is in deep trouble, because if they have success running, they're definitely going to have success throwing. Yeah. But if they're able to shut down the run, get him in the long yardage situations, he's got to make plays, which is what Michigan did, and then you force him to some turnovers, which is kind of like a standard plan, but they might have a chance to execute on that. And then Quinn Ewers would have to play like he played in overtime against Arizona State. Not how he played most of the game. He was pretty good most of the game. And then, he made some just dime throws. The guy's got I don't know. I think he really is the most accurate guy when he's on point. Yeah. All these guys, he's a little skinny, so I don't know if he gets beat up and that can have a little bit of effect on him. He's not a phenomenal runner either, so they're really a little more pro stylish, which is fine, which is fine as long as he's throwing well. So I was going to say that's what I kind of think there, but I just think watching that game, I just think that Ohio State, what they did to Oregon, I think Oregon was better than Texas. So I was shocked at how they just came out and just manhandled them every facet of the game. There was nothing that they didn't manhandle them on. Yeah. Oregon kind of tried to creep back into it, but they're already down 30 points. Yeah. It was going to be impossible. So I don't know. I think Ohio State's going to, honestly, I think Ohio State's going to smash Texas. I'm rooting for, I like to root for kind of underdogs in this situation. So I'm going to root for Texas just because, but I don't know if that would be a good championship game if Texas got there. Because I do think Notre Dame or Penn State, either one of them, could give Ohio State a good game. Because I think Notre Dame's defense is very good. I think the quarterback, though he doesn't throw for a lot of yards, he's accurate, and he's a gamer, and he runs in the right time, and he's a good runner, and they got good backs. So I think Notre Dame could control the ball, which is what is going to happen against Penn State. I think that's going to be two teams controlling the game with the run and play action and all that kind of stuff. And and then I don't think that's going to be a super high scoring game. I'm rooting for Notre Dame. I know you're rooting for Penn State. Because you can't go. If I were to say who's playing best right now,
Yeah.
I would probably say Penn State's probably playing a little better, but Notre Dame beat Georgia, man. I mean, shit.
Well,
I
but
just think the SEC
Georgia,
sucks.
they didn't have their starter. They didn't have their starter.
They didn't have Carson Beck, dude. That's a big
Right.
deal.
So that's where I
Big deal.
say, you know what I'm saying? Like, how good is Notre Dame? I mean, I agree with you. I think their defense is Notre Dame's always when they've been great and they've been national championship type of caliber football teams, they've always had great defenses. And they've always had an offense that would complement that defense. And they always found a way. But again, think about when's the last time Notre Dame won a big game that they really needed to win? They've always got like shat on. And I'm curious how Notre Dame is going to go through this. I think that Georgia game, I think it was a little bit of a fluke, Dave. I really do. And I think if they beat Penn State, I think it's going to be a cakewalk for whoever wins. And I truly believe Ohio State's going to beat Texas. Ohio State right now, to me, I need to see somebody beat them. I thought that way even when they lost to Oregon. They played out in Oregon. It was the first game of the year. They had a transfer quarterback come in from Kansas State. And I just truly believe that Ohio State has been the best team this entire year. And they just need to solidify that, man.
Absolutely. I think you're right. Ohio State, look, they spending the most money in NIL. I mean,
hell, I'd go to Ohio State and sit behind the bench for $50K.
$50K.
Hey, how funny is it that thing I sent you? I know I said that the last time, but when they're announcing the announcements of the guys, like on Monday Night Football or whatever, and hey, I went to Lackawanna Junior College, then I transferred to Fort Scott Community College, and then I went to Kansas, and then I went to Ohio State, and so I'm representing the U. Wait,
the
what?
U. Hilarious, dude.
Yeah,
dude. The transferring is like it's like. Could you imagine if NFL like allowed open free agency? Oh my god! Could you imagine that, dude? Dude, guys would be leaving teams and like at the end of the season, there would be guys would be on a different team almost every year.
Yeah, it's kind of like arena football was. That's how we were. We were on 2-year contracts.
Oh, 2-year contracts.
Yeah, basically.
And then guys were on a new team.
Yeah. It was hard, man. It was hard. You got to get that money while you could, and that's why it was hard. But hey, I think I don't disagree with you. I think Notre Dame should win that Penn State game, but I just I don't know how good Notre Dame is. You know what I mean? They play the schedule they play, but I think Penn State being in the Big Ten, I think they should win that. We might have a Big Ten championship for the national championship. It's kind of like how it was with the SEC back in the day.
I know. The amazing part is that it shifted to
quickly
to the Big Ten. Like I can't believe. Well, Michigan was really the groundbreakers. Harbaugh,
they were the catalyst.
Yeah, he was the catalyst, dude. Like he broke through. He beat them twice. I think he won it, and then he was out before the NCAA could penalize him. You know.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, the NCAA as a whole, like, man, like, could you imagine if someone ran a company like the way the NCAA runs it? Like they run, motherfuckers be broke. People be absolutely. I mean, shit.
I'm broke, man.
I don't know how they can. It don't make no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. But hey, you got to find a way. It's about that cheese, that cheddar, that shit we call money. You know, and that's why Texas is able to get back in it now, because Texas has always had some of the best boosters. We all know that. We know Austin, Texas has always given a lot of money back to the school. Now they don't have to hide it. Same with Ohio State, and you're finding it's no wonder these 4 schools that are in this are schools with alumni with a lot of money.
Well, you remember AZ?
Yes.
He's
the dude. That's my dog, man.
So he's a recruiting coordinator for Penn State.
Yep.
And he was telling me that they're doing it with much less than an Ohio State is. Not that they don't have good amount, but Ohio State has like 20 million. I think they might be like I remember reading it was like maybe 12 or something like that. But that's still
I think it's plausible deniability right now with him with that.
Listen, I mean, I'm sure he'll stay there, but shoot, I bet you people are gonna be offering him jobs left and right.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, a few years ago,
I talked to him about a year ago in terms of trying to get a job with
you did?
Up there at Penn State. He's like, Shane, he's like, man, they only hire within. And
really?
he's like, he tried to get me something. He really did. And
they would only hire Penn State? They would only hire Penn State guys?
Basically, yeah.
What about obviously James Franklin's not a Penn State guy.
No, but James Franklin is from Penn State or from that area. He's from that area. Like
he is?
He has a huge Pennsylvania following.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that. Trust me, he's a hell of a recruiter up there, and he does a great job. Yeah, trust me. AZ and I, we stay in touch with everything, and we talk like
once every 6 months. He was at Susquehanna.
Huh?
He was at Susquehanna before that.
Yeah. You talk about AZ?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, he's AZ's a good dude, man. That dude, I love that man. I wish we could when he was in Tampa, man, we did a lot of things together, had some fun. How
how did you know? Was he playing for Tampa? Is that how you knew him?
Yeah. That's how I ended up meeting him. That's how we came to with the combines and everything, and ended up meeting him. And he was one of my road dogs. Like when you gave me the regional director deal.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So he was one of the guys. I was like, man, I need this guy because he was that good of a dude, man. He was such a great dude.
Great dude. He played for how long did he play in the NFL for? A handful of years?
I think like 4 years, maybe somewhere around there.
Amazing.
But he got in that accident, and then when he was at Penn State, and that's why he only got drafted, I think, in like the 4th round or something, 3rd round, whatever it was. I mean, think about that. Dude's like 6'2", like rock solid, and can run, and he played corner. I mean, you saw him. Like, come on, man. Like, that's an NFL body right there.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't happen often. But
there's no doubt. It's funny because when you see like Dion, for example, like people are like, "Oh, Dion's skinny." I'm like, "No, Dion's really not skinny, dude." Like I know you think he's skinny because he looks skinny in his uniform.
Right.
But he's not. He's not skinny. Up. He's just long, because his son as a quarterback is really like kind of almost like a little bit thicker version of him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not that tall. His son, he's really like 6'2".
Yeah.
6'1", 6'2". Yeah. Which for a cornerback is real tall, Dion. But for a quarterback is not mega tall. Not that it makes that big of a difference anymore. Although, don't get me started on quarterbacks because I hate short quarterbacks. So,
what's that? You hate what?
I don't like short quarterbacks.
But 6'2" is not short nowadays.
No, 6'2". No, I don't like quarterbacks under 6 feet. I just, unless there are exceptions to the rule, I get it. But it just overall, like obviously, Baker Mayfield 6 feet on the dot, right?
Right.
Kyler Murray's like 5'9",
Yeah.
But I hate when people use like that guy, like Kyler Murray as an example. I'm just like, you're not Kyler Murray. It's not.
Right. That's a different. Yeah. Come on
I don't
now.
want to dream crush, but like that cat's a different cat.
You should dream crush because nobody's Kyler Murray. The dude won every game from a freshman to his senior year in high school.
Won every game.
He won 4 state championships.
In Texas, the biggest level, highest level.
Yeah.
In Texas. Like,
so don't say you're Kyler Murray.
Yeah. He was running around players in Texas at the highest level, big schools.
Yeah.
Like, the other guys looked like they were like, sixth graders playing against them.
They were slow motion. Yeah, exactly.
It's very funny. Many years ago, when I first started coaching, I got like my first head job, and that guy had introduced. I worked with this guy, DJ. You met him once. He came down once, and he gave me a bunch of film. You know, I'm like, can you give me a bunch of film, like in your team from this high school that he was at when they won like 5 state championships in a row, and he had all these great quarterbacks. And I'm like, can you give me films on this kid, Scott Stevens? He was like, 5'8" quarterback. He ended up playing Division III. He was a running back, Division III, and very good running back. Ran for 1 million yards. But I was like, can you give me film? I want to see how you guys run your your run and shoot rollout game and everything. And he gave it to me, and I watched it. And he just like, and this was small school level, but he would run around kids and a guy didn't show up, and he would take off down the field, and it looked like, he would just be in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? Like he did it so easily.
Yeah.
That you watch, you're like, oh man, well, all right, that's the scheme I can run. Like, and then you go and do it, and your guy's out there trying to do it, and he's like, can't do it, dude, and he can't get outside. You know what I mean? He can't, like, not fast enough. He can get outside, but not where he's creating all the space. He would get outside.
Right. Yep.
And it was like the dream scenario. Like he had these kids. He had a few of them, and that's why he won championship. That could get outside, and he went through his 1, 2, 3 progression, and he would get outside so fast that he'd be able to go through it, and guy showed open, boom, fired it to him.
Yeah.
His completion percentage was insane, like 80%. And threw for like 3,000 yards, or ran for like 1,500 yards. But if he didn't have it, then he would just meander down the field for 35 yards.
He said meander.
I'm like, I'm going to do that. And then,
but that's how it looked. It looked like he was meandering down the field without a doubt. But yet nobody realized the dude's still running a 4.4, 4.5 meandering.
Like these guys, and the short quarterback who has the ability to turn over like short space quickness. They can turn their feet over really quick.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So they might run the 40 and 4.5, but they're like 10 is so good. They're 10 yards.
Oh, absolutely.
They're
turning their ability to cut back and do things. Yeah.
Yeah. So they get that separation. So by the time you start chasing them, they're down the field, dude. Like actually Patrick Mahomes has very good quick feet in tight space, even though he's
very good quick feet. And now he doesn't. Yeah, he meanders a little slower than
but he's quick feet. Like scurries, gets a little bit of
And he's a bigger dude.
He's a big dude,
so he can run through some hits.
Exactly.
His legs are strong. He gets the ability, and he understands angles. That's the thing people don't understand is angles are everything in the game of football. Whether it's running or throwing, it's all about angles.
It's a great point. The whole game is about angles and how well you run angles.
Yes.
And like you're like, oh, how does this guy escape? Like, he may not even be able to articulate it to you. Mm-hmm. He just does it. Like he just moves away from people naturally. Right. Like he doesn't like you. I always used to say this to some kids who were like good players. Like they looked the part. They were still good, very good, but they weren't as good as you would have hoped they could be. Like they were so strong and fast and everything. I would be like, do you have Velcro attached to your like uniform?
Right.
Like, how are you attracting tacklers to you all the time?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
get away from the tacklers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But there are guys that like it's about having a feel for space in the moment. That's like like if I were to explain it as a coach, I don't even know that I could be like, you coach somebody on it, but like they have to feel it. And most kids or adults even, right? Most of them, they either have that feel or they don't. Now there are some people that you can teach that feel to.
I was
Like,
going to say,
put them in those situations. You got to put them in a lot of those situations. Basketball is like, I would say you want to get a kid to learn how to do it. Have to play basketball and be like a guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you got to run around a lot and maybe even a 3-spot swingman who's got to keep finding space. Point guard obviously is probably the best for it, but you got to get open tight space. Like I say this to my son all the time. I'm like, you got to get open, and he does this stupid little like move that I'm like, no one's falling for that move. Like, I'm like, you got to plant and then go in the opposite direction. Yeah. It's not your little head fake that you think you see on TV. Like this, nobody falls for that shit.
Yeah, nobody does.
It's foot plant, go the other direction. Or I tell them this. I call it's the 1-2 opposite. So you go 1-2 opposite, they're done.
It's the third cut, literally. Yep. So you set them up with the 1-2, and then that third one, you'll probably
1-2, boom, boom.
create yourself. Yep.
And once you could do that, like people can't stay with you. But
and that's where Mahomes, you see him when he scrambles, he does crazy shit like with his head. He'll turn around this way real quick, and then he'll fake this way, and everybody has to trust it because the dude is throwing passes with his left hand. Done no-look passes. So you're like, hey, if he raises up, he might throw it. So it makes you pause, and then he takes 2 steps, fakes one way, and then he goes back, and he takes these little-ass, funny-ass steps. And it's amazing to me. What I would tell my defense, just go and hit him. I don't care if he completes the pass, but hit him. Stop falling for all these ball fakes and these jabs and this and that. Go right for his midsection.
Yeah, go through his hip, dude.
Yes, go right through his hips.
Well,
and if you do that, that's where he gets hesitant.
I haven't been a defensive player, and then I always thought the thing that made me a good offensive coach was that I played defense, and I realized that defenses are dumb, and like defensive players think they're doing something and they're really not. And like they will fall. Like, dude, when the guy goes to make a move, you don't stop. And then, because you know what happens when you're growing up, everybody teaches kids, and you remember this because you played youth football, right? Or did you not?
Yes.
You did? Okay. So growing up in youth football, they'd be like, get to the ball carrier, buzz your feet. I'm like, no, man, let's do that, motherfucker. Why are you gonna buzz your feet?
No.
He makes a move. You buzz your feet. He's gone.
Yeah.
Gone, dude.
Run
you gotta
through him.
Keep moving. Maybe you're chopping. You're chopping, but you're not stopping and buzzing, dude.
Right. Yeah. Like, this isn't a drill. No, this is
nuts.
Go hit that summer gun.
High school coaches say it all the time, and I'd be like, no. I'm like I'll tell you this. This is how I knew Hargraves was a good linebacker coach, and I knew it then, but I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
He would put on this I can't remember the guys who were from Ohio State at the time. They were in the NFL, and he would put the Ohio State film on. He'd be like, "Watch these guys," right? And he'd be like, "What do you see?" I'll be like, "What do you mean?" We'd be like, "What do you mean? What do you see?" He's like, "No false steps. They move directly to the ball and through the ball. That's what you got to do. They do not. These linebackers, and I to this day, I can't remember who it was. I probably could look it up, and if I saw it, I probably remember. But these dudes, it might have been like Katzenmoyer and them. It might have been Katzenmoyer, or maybe Katzenmoyer. He might have been young, but there was another guy because I can't remember what. But they were like, the ball would be snapped. They would take the correct step. And even if it meant, like, they didn't just, like, they had, obviously they were excellent. So they was very little delay between the snap and then moving in the right direction with their keys. But they were taught that you were better off reading and moving in the right direction versus just moving to move and go, then having to go and redirect. So they were taught that, you know what I'm saying? So they would step to the right. And I can tell you, when I first started coaching, because everyone threw me on the defensive side right to start, and I was coaching DBs, but I would hear them talking to the linebackers, and they'd be like, your first 2 steps as a linebacker is up. And I'd be like, why do you teach them that? I'm like, that's the worst thing you could teach them. Well, we want to make sure they play to run. Well, I'm saying, but like, yeah, that's good against these shitty teams, you know what I mean? Because obviously you just run in the A gap and you just tackle them. But how you going to win a championship with your linebackers coming up? Right. Like, what if the team runs option and the quarterback pulls and is around the corner?
Yeah, now they get caught in all that muck.
And we had some stud inside linebackers for a small school when I first started coaching.
Yeah.
And these kids were studs. So they would make up for a lot. Like the one kid was 6'3", 220. And, you know, he was recruited. He just had like a 1.0 GPA. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he didn't want to go to college. Like, you know, my town, that's where I started. Like, you know how it is. Like, my town didn't, like, those guys didn't want to go to college. You know, some of those kids. You know what I mean? Some of them did. But some of them were great players. They didn't want to go to college. Like, their dads were trying to get them to go to college. They just didn't want to.
They didn't care. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't care. They were ballers, though. They were ballers. And I was like, man, these kids, like, these guys stepped in the right direction, learned how to step in the right direction all the time. As good as they were, which was very good, these dudes would have been like, I mean, you couldn't run. But that,
well,
but
here,
at the
same time, though, Dave, like it's if you know from a defensive perspective, if you know it's a gap scheme or if it's whatever kind of scheme it is, you got to go with it, and you just got to know like what angle to approach. It's all about angles, man.
It's all about angles.
You can't get caught up in the wash. So false steps, they kill you. And, you know what I mean? So it's better sometimes, not sometimes, I know for a fact, it's better to play the run from a little bit deeper as a linebacker. So now when you come downhill, you have that proper angle.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
the depth is absolutely.
The game has changed a lot from that.
The game's a big spill and kill game now too, right? Everyone wants to spill the outside because you can chase,
right?
You get better angles versus if you spill it inside, which is what we used to do in college. You spill it inside, dude.
Now you have cutback lanes.
Well, the guy just has a direct path to the end zone.
Exactly.
If he gets through, if you're spilling it back to the middle linebacker misses.
Oh, it's a wrap.
That's a house call, dude.
Yeah, you better hope that safety's there.
You better hope that safety makes the play. But that was the philosophy. The philosophy was bringing. Now they're like make them run wide.
Absolutely.
Now, Florida, I heard the joke in Florida is like, like we make them run wide. They just run out. They just run right outside of the skull. They're around. It's not right anyway.
Absolutely.
Right anyway.
Their speed's gonna take care of it. But that's just undisciplined football. Then on the offense side of the football too, though, with the running back, because you're taught to attack certain angles. Again, from an offensive standpoint, you're taught to attack. Hey, and if it's a gain of 2, it's a gain of 2 today. Hey, we move on to the next day. And tomorrow, it may be a gain of 3. It may be a gain of 2 again. And then all of a sudden, now it turns into a gain of 16. And now we get that, and now we play action off of that, and now we have the defense wondering what the hell is going to happen tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
When I say today and tomorrow, I mean this play and the next play. But
no, it's a great point. On a different note, I'm curious. Well, let's get your predictions first. Then I want to go to this kind of other thing that I was thinking about.
Sure.
So you pick Penn State?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with PSU, man. I gotta go with them.
And Ohio State.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go Ohio State and Notre Dame. Now,
Nice.
last week you won, I think, because we both picked Texas.
Yeah.
I picked Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You picked, who did Notre Dame play?
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. Yep.
But you picked,
I picked Georgia.
So that's 2 for me. And you picked, I think you won 3 because you picked Penn State. That's 2. Mm-hmm. And then you got, what was the other one? You picked Ohio
I wish
State.
I would have known that
you picked Ohio State. I picked Oregon.
Play. I wish I would have known that Beck wasn't going to play because I probably wouldn't have went with Georgia.
Yeah. So that was, so you won, but you still won 3-2. So you have a glass of water. I'd send it to you.
I love it.
I thought until I saw the Notre Dame game, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Shane's gonna beat me. I'm gonna go 1 for 3 and he's gonna go 4-0 or 4-1. I was like, oh, but
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So all right, so we have 1 differential. So you could either, I could be 2-0 and you would be 1-1, or you would be 2-0 and I would be 1-1. Yeah. So for another glass
of water.
In the old days, I would say that would be for Jim Beam there. But
yeah, I was going to say Jim Beam. Yeah.
Stay away from that stuff.
Yeah.
That would be for a handle of Jim Beam.
Definitely. No more handles. We're not doing handles.
Some of the greatest nights of my life, which I don't remember anymore.
How funny is that, though? We remembered them the next day, but I have no idea what they were.
I couldn't even tell you now. It's so funny. I just know that Jim Beam nights were fun. I can't remember exactly what happened. Like if someone brought up a story or something, I'd remember it. I would remember it. But I wouldn't it wouldn't just sit in my head like, oh, this was a great.
We'd go down. We'd get some brunch on Sunday, right? Down there at McMahon. We'd get some brunch or whatever that breakfast, and then we go play a little intramural basketball or something.
Yes. I remember our intramural basketball. I was trying to remember who was on that team. That was you, Gooch, DJ, Brandon Bailey. I was on. Who else?
Was it Monte on that?
I think that was your team the year before.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we played them in the semifinals and beat them.
Yeah, Shank was on. I think he was on our squad too.
Which maybe he might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think we had like 7 or 8.
Man,
we must not have had more than 7 or 8. I doubt we had more than 7 or 8.
Dude, I remember throwing alley oops up to Monte and throwing. People like, what the?
He could leap, dude.
Yeah.
Monte. He jacked. He was jacked too.
Jacked for no reason.
For just no reason, dude. I'd be like, yo, will you take off his shirt? I'd be like, yo, just please.
Yeah, stop. Go walk over there. Go walk over there.
There are girls around. There are girls around. I'm trying to get them to be attracted to me. So please, put your shirt on.
Yeah. So what I started to learn was I'm just going to hang around him. That way I'll get his little stragglers, and I'll do some more push-ups.
That's hilarious.
Hey, so what do you think about these NFL games?
The NFL games? The matchups that are coming, you mean the wild card is coming up, or what just happened?
Just in general, man.
I think the Lions are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so we were talking before about culture. They've taken a lot of good players. They have a lot of good players, but they've really built, that coach is built, Dan Campbell's built in a pro environment, which it has to be very hard to do. It has to, I think it takes, and it can turn very quickly, by the way. The wrong guy on your team can disrupt that, I think, in the pros. But if you get the right mix of guys that are all good and pulling in the right direction, you get what they have. Whether they win the championship or not, there are people judge on how far they take the team. Like, McCarthy gets, he didn't have a good year this year with the Cowboys, but his team's not going far, loaded team, because he's not perceived as building a culture. But Dan Campbell's building a culture, so yeah, he may win the Super Bowl, but they're probably the best team right now in the NFL. But what he's also built is like a group of people who want to play for that team.
That's a good point.
And then that's pretty.
That's a great point.
And I think the polar opposite of that is Miami.
Why do you say that with Miami?
I just don't think he has Tyreek Hill quit in the last game. He wouldn't go back in. I think that the guys like him, and I think that he's an innovator on offense. I do think he's good from that standpoint.
Okay.
I don't think ultimately, to me, a guy who looks like, and I don't mean looks like
Poindexter,
who presents himself as like a hipster, is ultimately going to get it done in the long run. And that's and that look at show this year. He had some success. Ultimately, you got to get, and because you played arena, you got to get grown men to be able to respect you and follow you when they may not always agree with you.
Correct.
That's the thing that's hard about pro football.
Yes. Okay? And from different cultures.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe a given part of it. I'm making an assumption that you've got to be able to. You're not. I'm making the assumption that for the most part, head coaches, even if they're not that great in the NFL, probably do have an understanding because they've been around for a long time of people from different cultures. But getting guys to get on board with what you're doing, and then even because they're grown men and they have different thoughts of how things should be done, especially veterans,
right?
To get on board, even if they don't necessarily think that, I think we could, we used to do it this way, or to get them on board. That's not easy, dude, because not only you have to get them on board, but you got to get them on board, and then all of a sudden something bad happens, they don't get off board, because that's what grown men do, dude. That's what grown men do that, because
you hit the nail on the head. Like this cat from Miami, it's great. And I'll be honest, I was blown away that this little guy, he'll always have a job in the NFL.
Oh, he should. He'll
always have a job. Is he a head coach? No, he's not. He's just a face of a team. And that dude, this whole concept that was going on in the NFL, it's going to change real quick, because you need leaders that aren't afraid to get into a fight with a player every now and again. Rough it up.
Tomlin is a good example of a great leader, right?
Yeah.
Tomlin's a leader. Campbell's a leader.
But he put time in, though, before he got his head coaching job. This dude, this white weasel guy looking guy.
Actually, I think he's half black.
Who?
McDaniel is half black.
Come on, man. It's an Irish name, and now he's half black?
If you look, I'm almost certain he's considered a minority.
God bless him. Hey, God bless him.
I know. Well, listen, James Franklin. It's funny because obviously there's a lot more intermarriages than there was many, many, many years ago, right?
Sure.
So James Franklin, who
I've never seen a white dude look white like McDaniel.
James Franklin looks like he's just tan. You know what I'm saying? If you were to meet James Franklin, Penn State coach, he looks like he's tan. But he is half black. You know what I'm saying?
But I believe that. I don't know about half black.
I can see when you explain it.
I mean, that's like Niall Wyron. Niall Wyron's half black.
Right. He's a good example. If you say, if you told me they were half black, you wouldn't be shocked. But if you didn't know they were half black, you wouldn't
Yeah.
draw the assumption that they were. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
I know Italians from Saddlebrook, where I grew up, that are much darker than James Franklin. To be honest,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? like Italians from Sicily, like that are much darker, and their hair is a little more coarse than you know, like so. But anyway, McDaniels. So go on what you say, but yeah, McDaniels. That's what I was laughing because you said.
No, I'm just saying though, like Mike McDaniel, he looks like he may be. I could see him being like ethnicity of. Okay, it says his mother is white and his father is black.
Yeah.
Huh? I don't know. I need to see.
You just got thrown for a loop right there.
I did. But this dude, I mean, with his hair and stuff, I think maybe he may be a quarter black. There is no way. And here are two white guys talking about this. But this dude looks.
Well, you would never know that you would never know that I was Samoan, would you? Or you would? Not Samoan.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, if you admitted that, Dave, with the way you look, yes, and how dark you get.
But if I didn't admit, you would never know.
Very true.
If I didn't say to you that I'm 20% Polynesian, you would never know. But
that's a good point.
But once I say it to you, now you're like, oh, you know what? His eyes are small. I could see it.
Yeah,
you know?
But also your skin tone.
My skin tone, I'm super like wide. Like every Samoan.
He said I'm super wide.
Every Samoan football player, you know. I wish I was wide with the waist like Monte, but it just, you know.
Yeah, well, you had it at one point.
Oh yeah. Well,
remember when you came down there and you're running track around the? I forget what high school that was. I think it was Chamberlain High School or something. Jefferson High School. Yeah. Speaking of all black, that Jefferson High School down there, and you were like 220 back then, and ripped. I'm like, damn, dude, I need to get on your schedule. You're like, yeah, I run like 1,400s a day. I'm like,
I was running my ass off back then.
Yeah, you were.
But you know what? It paid off at night.
Yes, it did. It paid off for me too.
Now I just like my payoffs during the day.
Crazy. But no, I never knew that about McDaniel. Like, I think that's part of the reason that he gets jobs too, though, is he covers that African American. Dude, how crazy is that? Now that you say that, now I understand why he got a job.
Yeah, he's a hipster kind of guy.
Hipster, but he's also African American. So that covers the basis for the NFL with a black coach, which is BS.
I thought he had an innovative offense in the beginning.
He does.
But here's what happens.
Real quick.
Everybody catches up. What's your page to? That's the most important thing. When they catch up, how you handle grown men and when it's not when they agree with you. Like everyone always thinks, when you're winning,
Dave,
everybody agrees with you. It's when something goes wrong, you run a play and you've been practicing, it looks good at practice, and then you get blown up and you get a pick to the house. And then everybody's looking at you like, why you run that dumb? I told you that dumb shit wasn't going to work. Like,
yeah. Now, how do you manage that? Exactly. How do you
manage
that? Coaching is all about managing personalities, especially at an NFL level or a professional level. That's the one thing I've learned when I was coaching arena football and dealing with 25 to 35-year-old grown men with kids at home and all those different things. How do you say to them, are you going to take your own accountability? Because they will call you out in a heartbeat.
Sure.
Why aren't you in here 30 minutes earlier? Why don't you take ownership of where you messed up? They will call you out in a heartbeat. And that's where leaders truly step up and get in there a half hour, 40 minutes to an hour earlier and say, hey, look, I effed up. This is my bad. You can do that with high school kids, and you can even potentially get away with college kids and college coaches, potentially. But eventually it's going to catch up. But when you get to a professional level where people are cashing checks to pay for things, mortgages, and help their family, man, as a coach and as a leader, you cannot be on the back end of that. You have to be on the front end of that, because if you're not, they will not hesitate to whoop your ass, one, and two, you will get fired very quickly.
You will. You will. The accountability part is very hard.
Yes.
And that's probably the most difficult difference between college and the NFL.
You can't fake the funk.
Like you come up with something that doesn't work. You better have an answer for what should work.
Correct.
And you better be able to acknowledge, okay, that we're going in this direction. I thought this is what we thought this is what they'd be doing. They're not doing that.
Right. You got to have a plan, bro.
Here's our plan for this, because that was a mistake, not because we didn't think it would work. We did. Obviously, that's why we're doing it. But they adjusted, or whatever the reason was, or it's a bad call. Like, you make a call and something bad happens. If it's truly your mistake, you saw the wrong thing. Yeah, it has to be.
You got to point at yourself, man.
Right.
They watch as much film. The great
or ask for explanations too, right?
Yes.
Like with the quarterback comes off the sideline, like, you're not sure if you made a bad call or he saw the wrong thing, which happens.
Right.
He saw the wrong thing, or maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe it wasn't the best play call. Maybe he forced it because it was a super comfort. You gotta be like, yo, what did you see that happen? What?
Absolutely.
What did we do wrong in that play? Like, not what did you do wrong? What did we do wrong? Did I see the wrong thing? Did you see the wrong thing? Which was it? And
that's why, Dave, I'm telling you, when I was OC, all the years, and I know it was quote unquote just arena football, but Dave, when I was OC, I always had the top plays that my number one wide receiver wanted. That if we're in a certain situation, what did he like out of these formations? Because we all watch film. What did you like if they play zone, if they play man? What do you like? If they play out of trips, out of 2x1, if you're in motion, if you're not in motion. So that would be my number one receiver. Then I'd say to my quarterback, actually, I'd always go to my quarterback first, but quarterback, hey, what do you like in this situation? Third and long, second and medium, or going into the red zone. What do you like? And then I'd mesh with my number one receiver, because it's all about matchups. And how do I create those matchups or mismatches? And what I would do is then marry those two and see which one. Okay, I know my quarterback likes this one. I know my number one receiver likes this one. What's my complementary route off of this in case number one is covered? Where is my number two? So now my quarterback is comfortable checking down to the number two. And can we protect this? And can we pick up this kind of pass rush? Like, all that stuff will go into it. So now we can go into this and say, hey, you know what? This is our best game plan that we have. Hey, fellas, go play, make plays. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Now we go back to the drawing board, and now we say, hey, look, they're doing this a little different. They're doing that different. You have to have a plan, like you're saying, Dave, especially with these guys that watch just as much film as you do. And they shouldn't watch as much, but sometimes the great ones, they do.
And then the other hard part, which I think for the NFL, and as much as we talk about it, until you're in it, you still have to make that decision. So no one could actually tell you what that exact moment is. But you have to be able to figure out when guys are no longer worth having on the team, meaning this could be superstars. Yeah, the value. Like, I'm not just talking about their value as far as their performance. Right. Talking about if their attitude's starting to go in a direction, they don't want to be there. They're unhappy.
Yep.
And you got to assess if you can get that on the right track, or
that's all part of the value, man.
You got to cut bait, right? And
yep.
that becomes part of it too. I think that, like, when people are like, oh, I can coach the NFL, you know, they have off, and I'm like, yo, what are you gonna do when you're coaching Aaron Rodgers, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and you're a coach, some coach, okay? And this
guy's coach, yep.
This guy's going to the Hall of Fame. How are you going to get Aaron Rodgers on your side, okay, to do what you need to do to get done, okay? For him to see it more towards how you see it, that's going to be hard. Now, like, he's going to want to know that you're at least as smart as him. You know what I'm saying?
No, at least as smart as him.
You can't hire, if you're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Like, when people are like, oh, because Rex Ryan's, I guess, one of the candidates for the Jets job. I said that's who you would have to have. If you're going to keep Aaron Rodgers, you'd have to have him, because even though Aaron Rodgers may think he's smarter than everybody, he'll respect that he has done a lot in his career, and he
and Rex Ryan's a defensive guy, so Aaron can still take over the offense.
He'll find the guy for him, but he'll get Aaron to not just be surfer dude Aaron, you know what I mean? Like, I'm smarter than everybody else, Aaron, but to be a little more dialed in. And I think Aaron gets himself dialed in for the games. I just think if he's not on board team-wise the way he needs to be, meaning he wants the team to be successful, but you got to get, like, guys that are that level superstar. It could either be really, really good, you could win a championship, or it could be really, really bad. And, you know, like, if you looked at his numbers for this year, his numbers aren't actually bad.
They're not bad. They're not astronomically great.
They're not what his best years are. Right.
Yeah, they're not bad.
But it's not about what the numbers are. It's about how those numbers got created, right? Like, interceptions and sacks at the wrong time.
Correct.
You know, it almost looks like when they were down and had needed a big play, it was almost like, it's not that he had given up, but, like, he just didn't think it was going to happen. You know,
it disappointed me that he took himself out of that game.
Which game?
The last game against Buffalo, I think it was.
Oh, the game before. Yeah, the game before. The last game they won.
I'm sorry.
They beat Miami. That was part of the thing that I think is so bad for the Miami coach. Aaron Rodgers picked them apart. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. You know, like, and that's why Tyreek wouldn't go back in the game. Like, he wouldn't go back in the game. So, yeah, you know, look, Tyreek Hill obviously has a checkered past. He's one of those guys with a big personality, but he also is obviously living.
Oh, he's a hell of a talent. He's a hell of a talent.
He wants to live. Like, Andy Reid got as much as out of him for a very long time in the right direction. And when that started to shake, he just didn't match what he wanted, right?
It tells you that Tyreek Hill, the number one thing for him is not winning. The number one thing for him is Tyreek Hill.
I agree with that. And he's already won. So he's already won a bunch.
That's what I'm saying.
He already won a bunch at the Kansas City. He's won Super Bowls. You're right. He strikes me as now he no longer cares if he wins it. He knows what it feels like to win a couple of championships.
Yep. Now it's about
like Brady. Brady wins a champ, or Nick Saban. They win a championship. The only thing that goes into their head, and this makes them unique, by the way.
Well, Patrick Mahomes, same way.
Well, who is?
Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid.
There's a lot of guys who win a championship, and I don't even fault them for this. They win a championship. They reached their dreams, which is so hard to reach. Almost nobody really reaches their dreams. A guy reaches his dreams, okay? And this may be Tyreek even. He's a little bit selfish to begin with. He reaches his dreams. He wins a couple of championships or whatever. And he's like, it's not the same dopamine for him anymore.
Right,
a championship wouldn't provide that. Whereas Mahomes and Saban and Andy Reid and Tom Brady, and I'm missing probably a lot of guys, but
sure.
I understand. They still need that. Like, that's not enough for them. It's never enough. And there's a lot of guys that I don't fault them for being this way, because I don't, like anytime you've won a championship, it is a weird feeling. Like when I've won a state championship as a coach, albeit as assistant, I won. I was like, oh, wow, I guess that's it. Like, we won. We reached the mountaintop for this level. And if we don't push to go to another level, or another like a higher level, or like that, you already know what that feeling feels like. So you have to have the drive to get there again, to want to have that feeling again, and enjoy the process so much that, because there are a lot of people who are like, this was my goal, I reached it. I'm ready to move on to something else. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
I don't know if Tyreek's like that at all or not, but I'm just
saying, I don't know either, but
I have no idea.
That way. He's doing a lot of selfish and self-destructive things, to where it's like he needs something to rebuild now and come back from.
Correct.
Hopefully somebody gives him that chance, because he's kind of screwing himself. Yeah, he's a hell of an athlete.
Self-destruction is too. So self-destruction, like when you come from a crappy environment.
Correct.
Sometimes, actually, I don't even know what his environment was growing up, but I'm just saying, let's say he did. Like, people who don't always grow up in the best environment, because actually, I don't know if he did or didn't. But
no, I understand what you're saying.
But if you come up from like an environment where there wasn't a ton of success, you get a lot of success. And let's say you reach a good amount of success.
Yeah.
And there's this like thing in the back of your head that's like makes it almost feel like, is this just a mirage for this period of time? And then you almost bring yourself back to earth instead of staying in that, right? And that's a mindset that you have to change. Now, most people don't, like Tom Brady never had that level of success until he got it in New England. So even though he was successful as a player in Michigan, he didn't have the level of success that he had as a pro. Sure. But whatever triggers in him, it doesn't trigger to go back down. It triggers to just keep going for more. Like, and some of it, I think a lot of it is you have to teach yourself how to become that way. Like you have to, and you have to decide, think to yourself, is this what I want? Like, do I want to continuously strive to always be the best after I've been the best? Mm-hmm. I can honestly say, like, I've had it a couple of times in my life, and I think to myself, even like, yeah, I find it amazing that Nick Saban like can continue for so long to only be single-minded. Like, me personally, like, I have a success in one field or a couple times in this area, and I'm almost thinking, all right, what's the new, different challenge? Saban likes the new challenge in the same environment. He loves it. Like I think Tom Brady had it for a long time, and then when he went to Tampa, Tampa was the new
that was his new challenge,
right? And when he won there, I think he was finally content. I think he just, even though he played another year and they did well, I think he was finally like, yeah, you know what? I think that's kind of it.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but I also think though that Father Time finally caught up with him.
But he could have still played in Stratford. He could have gone to another team where he got more protection, maybe won.
But the other thing though too is his personal life kind of got in there too, because him and his wife, just from rumors and all that kind of stuff, being in Tampa while he was there and all that stuff, and with her and his kids, he understands now there are other priorities. He did all he could, and he now has other priorities. Whereas, like, you have a guy like Tyreek Hill. I don't know what his family life is or whatever that is, but what I'm saying is Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, the great ones always found a way to utilize Kobe Bryant, always found ways to motivate themselves. They were self-motivators, and they didn't worry about anybody else. They found ways to make themselves great again.
Yes.
And I don't think it was anything more than, for Tom Brady, I don't think it was anything more than, look, there are other things bigger than football. I accomplished everything. My body is getting worn out, and I have my kids to look after now. That's my new challenge. I want to be the best dad I can be, kind of a deal. That's my opinion on that. But as far as other players younger that win championships, like what's going on with Patrick Mahomes, I find him astonishing. The fact that he's going after a three-peat that hasn't been done ever, I don't think, in the NFL since the 60s, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I find that amazing. Kelsey, I find amazing. The fact that those guys, and even that defensive lineman for Kansas City that ended up signing back with the Chiefs.
Chris Jones?
Jones, exactly. Chris Jones, who came back there and sacrificed a couple $1 million. I mean, I know we're talking about a couple $1 million, but understands what it takes to be on a winning team. The fact that he's that kind of a leader, that says a lot about Andy Reid too. Andy Reid doesn't get enough credit for how he keeps the team together and gets rid of guys just like Belichick did. But Belichick, it is what it is. But with Belichick and how everybody appreciates him, not enough people appreciate Andy Reid, because remember, Andy Reid went to 4 NFC championships. Yes, he lost one. Then he went to a Super Bowl and lost that. So it's like, what do you want? And they're saying Andy Reid's not a great coach. He's not a winning coach. Are you kidding me? Try and get to 4 NFC straight championships and all that stuff. Come on, man. And now he takes another team to a Super Bowl, multiple Super Bowls, and wins. Dude, you talk about incentive. You talk about drive. You talk about finding motivation. That's a dude I would follow, no doubt.
I agree. I think Andy Reid is phenomenal. I think he keeps the team together. He's totally different approach to Belichick, and I think it's amazing how he does it. It's unique, and listen. That's why I was. One of the things that football has, and I'm sure all sports has this to an extent, is these trends in who they styles of coaches they want to hire, and one of the things I always hate that people do is exclude any kind of person, like when they went away from I don't know, all the coaches now are skinny. You know what I'm saying? They're all skinny head coaches. Honestly, I think it's
all in shape and fit.
I know. All right. Well, I guess they could all just take Ozempic now and get skinny, I guess. So, but if that was the way, if that was how it was when Andy Reid was coming out, we wouldn't have Andy Reid.
That's true.
Okay. Now Andy Reid's a healthier Andy Reid than he was, so he probably only 50 pounds versus 350. But I think that you have to look at what it's all in what this person has in here versus there are people that are I found to be great leaders that are skinny, and there's great leaders that are fat. There are great leaders that are black. There's great leaders that are white. It doesn't. It's not. It's about what that person has behind between their ears that makes a difference, and that's what makes those kind of positions. But I get the whole TV thing and all that stuff and the fans and all that kind of stuff. But does anyone say Andy Reid is a fat ass? He shouldn't be a head coach? No. Say he's a great head coach. But if Andy Reid was losing, you know what they would say? He's a fat ass. And that's crazy to me. He's not running for a fashion show. He's not on he's not Miss America. He's not running for Miss America. Right. I don't want to see him in his underwear. Okay.
No. But the dude has the respect of his team.
Yep.
And the respect of his peers. and that's all that matters. Period.
That's exactly right. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to ask about, and because we've been on long, I got to get rolling. Only reason I have to get rolling is because I got to go to the bathroom.
I do too.
I'm dying. I do want to ask this quick question, and it relates to UConn too. With the way that the world is in college football, and Belichick going to North Carolina, I see him on the recruiting trail, which I find is actually funny to me that he's on the recruiting trail, even though I know he's out there taking pictures with guys like this. Like I'm like, oh my god, I would have never thought to see Belichick like
he hates his life.
Stars. What?
I said he hates his life right now.
He's doing it for the gram.
Yeah, yes.
Bill, you gonna do the picture for the gram? What's the gram? Just do it.
Yeah. You remember when he said, that FaceGram Instacart thingy? Now he's got to be hip with it.
He's got to be hip with it. Well, I guess he's got a 27-year-old girlfriend to help.
Swing.
God bless him, man. God bless him.
Yeah.
And then, but with that, I think because college football has become a little bit more like the NFL, I do see. However long Belichick's there, he's probably going to have an advantage because not only is he going to be able to coach those guys like the NFL, but he also prepares them for the NFL, and then they'll feel like they have a better chance of being recommended for the NFL because Belichick's their coach, which I also think is helpful to UConn because Mora coached in the NFL, and he has all those connections, and players will get an opportunity in the NFL. So I think that it's kind of interesting that the timing for UConn having an NFL, a guy who was an NFL coach in this new environment potentially works to their favor. Now Pete Carroll was like that in USC, but that's because Pete Carroll had the ability to drop a bag off. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
But I think that's an interesting thing that I think it's hasn't been successful with coordinators as much because if you were a coordinator in the NFL, they're hit or miss at the college level because the game is different. Like,
sure,
QB running the ball is more of a bigger thing in college. Defensively, being able to adapt 1 week to playing Army and triple option, and next week playing a team who throws the ball every down, like that's a lot to ask for a defensive coordinator. And pro guys are used to seeing, for the most part, certain type of stuff over and over again.
Right.
And so I don't know that it translates, but at the head coaching level, I could see it translating very well as from a head coaching standpoint. Just your thoughts.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think it is a good thing, no doubt. I mean, Randy Edsall, think about, he coached at Jacksonville. He was D coordinator, right, before he came to UConn, as well as at Georgia Tech, whatever. But he had NFL coaching experience. I think now, with where things are in these coaches now being able to get athletes in the way that college football is going, yes, I do agree with you as far as having NFL coaches coming into college. It's going to be beneficial for the university and for the NFL because they're going to be able to implement those things. And now being able to pay these players, it's going to be very similar to let's say, a less financial agreement, obviously. But, there's still going to be standards there. It's definitely different. You're still going to have a drop-off of the great college programs as opposed to the smaller ones. But it doesn't hurt. And I think, Mora, we need to find a way. I've been saying this from day one. And I know Cully's been killing me ever since day one. I think Mora at UConn is a great hire. And I think he's handling it the right way. We just need to make sure that we keep him at UConn because, dude, winning 9 games, I thought we might win 10 if we would have beaten Syracuse or the other game they lost.
Yep.
I thought for sure we were going to win 10 games this year. 9 games, I think, is a great, great stepping stone. And now it's about Mora understanding how. Here's the best part about it. Mora being in meetings with GMs, he now understands how to work things from a financial standpoint, whereas a lot of these other college coaches have no clue because they never dealt with this.
Right.
He does have that advantage. So I think it's a great advantage for us. And I do see college football potentially hiring more NFL people nowadays. I mean, hell, fucking the one guy just got a job down in South Florida at one of those schools, the receiver from the Eagles, I think it was. I forget who it was, but he's a receiver. And a lot of it comes to the fact
Sean
that they
Jackson?
understand. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson, right? Was that him? Yeah, a lot of it has to do with they understand contracts, they understand negotiations, those types of things, and plus they have a name. So there's a lot of things that go in now. We talked about this, Dave, in text messages and different details and different things.
Oh, he's head coach at Delaware State, you mean?
Yeah, Delaware State. I'm sorry. Yeah, Delaware State. I'm sorry, not in Florida. Delaware State. Yes, exactly. But my point is this: coaches nowadays, they don't have to have coaching experience. They have to have negotiating experience, and they have to have a name. That's what it comes down to.
Yep, and management capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Management capabilities.
Yep.
You
Absolutely.
know, like, almost more like the head coach is. They used to say
a delegator.
Yeah, he's a CEO, but he's also he's the CEO who knows football, kind of.
Yeah.
But like, I wonder if eventually being.
But I will say this though, Dave, you got to be careful because then you're going to get Mike McDaniel, and you're going to get him that kind of he wears out his welcome. Yeah, he looks good on TV. He speaks well. He has a great offensive philosophy. He understands how to delegate and how to manage and how to do these things. And
he's an Irishman.
But yeah, exactly. He's an Irish guy. McDaniel. He's got to be an Irish black dude. But but my point is this though, with him in football, that is the one sport you cannot come from not ever having played it. You have to at least played it. Otherwise, people are going to be able to call you out. Because when that stuff hits the fan, you know as well as I do, and you get in those meetings, you're going to get called out as a head coach or as a leader. And when those players start seeing through those little cracks and crevices about how you're full of crap, they're gonna not believe anymore, and they're gonna now be able to go somewhere else.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. That was a great take. All right, well, another great college football frenzy. And now I will go visit the porcelain god.
But no, you're not throwing up.
No. Well, it's still the porcelain.
We didn't have Jim Beam today.
No. Now it's just fiber. It's just fiber.
Yeah. That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Let me see this. Our only comment today is something about Rabbi Rothschild. Okay.
What?
I don't know. That's it.
Usually we have start talking about Rabbi Rothschild.
I don't know. Well, usually you have a million comments, but I guess today, even though there's a lot of people watch, can you see the live viewer numbers or no?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't see it? Okay.
No.
Right. Only admins see it, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's three.
I see comments, but I don't see the live viewer.
It says 371, 373. It's actually been going up the longer we're talking, but 374. It keeps going up. A lot of live viewers, so that's pretty good. Most of it on actually on X. You know, for some reason X is does very well with these streamed.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, I mean, right now we have 369 viewers on X. So out of the 376, the YouTube starts off strong, and now we have now we have 7 people watching on YouTube.
Yeah, Rabbi just wants us to follow him, the most streamed person in Earth's history.
Yes, I don't know. I
It's like Steve Cully, the best podcast in the universe.
What the episode the show you if you're ever bored and you want to watch something that it's obviously serious to an extent, but is beyond belief funny. Is the show Rebel Republic I do with him and his buddy, the guy who's the old coach, Frank Cristiano, who owns like the pizzeria, and we both know how Steve is, and obviously he's known Steve a long time. But it's so funny because Steve asks he has like his set questions. I'm sure he does that with you, like your questions that he wants to cover, which is good. That stuff's good.
Yeah.
So, but he goes to but he doesn't know politics as well. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows about politics. And he's learning a lot because he's hosting this show, and me and Frank are pretty. Like we watch it. You know what I mean? Yeah. We watch politics. Like we stay up on it. So we're really like the majority of the dialogue. We debate most of the time. So most of the time we're on the same side. Sometimes we disagree on things. But it's funny because Steve will say some things that are so funny, and his buddy Frank will say things like little like funny like I do like the best podcaster in the universe, like stuff like that. Like we always see him about different things. I'm like, oh my god, it's so funny. But sometimes it ends up being hilarious, like Steve will end up talking like old linemen like to talk about like they don't talk about. I think I said to you this before. They don't talk about women in the same way that like we do, like they do, but they talk about it differently, kind of. So like everything is like very graphic. I'm not like a graphic person when it comes to this.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they'll be talking about he'll be talking about pumpkins and all this other stuff. Like, that's not how I work, like that's not how I am. But I play this like music in the background, and I've never played it for you. You got to hear it. It's hilarious, actually. I play this music in the background. So he starts talking about stuff like if he gets off track, Steve. I play this. We go now coming to the stage.
Nice.
Steve Cully.
Just to get him and let him know, like, hey, you got to get back on track.
Get your dollars up. Here you go. So, but it's so funny because I go off on tangents and like, but it's funny because you're one of the best podcasts in the universe, and every time he says it, I just So last couple of times he said it like I don't know what. Oh, me and him were in a heated debate yesterday about that Paige Beckers thing. He was adamant about being with your team. I don't think he's wrong. Okay, about it's obviously how everyone we were probably all raised on it. Being with your team in the summer, like we weren't allowed to go home. That's what made us better. He said, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that I disagree with you in a sense that is necessary for her, right? So it was a great debate. And again, he goes, this is the Steve Cully, the greatest podcaster, or whatever he says. And, the whole thing about like take 2 lemons or whatever it is, or two oranges or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Make lemonade or whatever.
So he's still a little bit heated. He goes, take 2 oranges and shove them up Paige.
Oh, that's what he said to me too. He did that to me too. He goes, take them and shove them up Shane's ass. It's like his. I don't know what's going on, man. That dude, he's different. Man, he's an old lineman. But I would love for him to block for me because he sounds like he would have been a killer.
He's huge too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 6'5". It's funny because we had pretty big. You had big linemen, I think, pretty big.
Yeah. I mean,
but they
5.
Obviously the Edsel era, they had like guys like Steve.
Yeah, they had big dudes then.
They had big dudes because Steve like talks about himself like he wasn't even really that big compared to.
Yeah, because you got to remember, I had Courtney Williams, I had Dennis. Courtney was 6 foot, 6'1". No, probably 6'2", 3 something. Then you had Dennis Callahan, who was 6'2".
Yeah,
Jamie Harper, who was like 6'3". Tavar Klaus at one point, and then who else was on there? We had a couple other guys that
Darby?
I feel bad. Darby, but he didn't play that much when I was there. He ended up moving to defense.
We did, okay.
There's a couple other guys that.
I know. The blonde hair guy from Florida.
Oh yeah. Oh shiza! I can't believe I forget his name.
Durfus.
Yeah.
Did he start when you were there?
But he was only like 6'2".
Yeah, he wasn't that tall either.
Yeah, no,
none of them were really. He was a tough guy. No. Soft?
He was soft.
Who was your tight end?
Actually, freaking Mike was actually.
Mike who? Burton. Burton was your tight end?
Yeah. Mike Burton was tight end. He was one of them.
Center.
He played center. He played tight end.
Oh.
He played center after I was there, if he played center. But he was a tight end at one point. I want to say he caught a touchdown from me. Who else was tight end? Chad Martin would have been a hell of a tight end. God, he might have went to the league if he would have played tight end.
Because he was what, 6'2"? Oh, he's a 6'2", a little short.
He's about 6'1", but he was athletic, had great hands.
I think for FCS, he would have been a great tight end.
Yeah.
FCS, you don't need to be as tall.
No. And like
McKinney wasn't that tall. McKinney was only 6'2".
McKinney was only like 6'2".
Yeah, he wasn't tall. Yeah. He was good.
McKinney was,
and Kozlowski, who was before you, he was when I was a freshman.
He was like 6'4".
No, he was only like 6'3".
Oh, really? Okay.
He was tall, but that obviously freshman.
I'm trying to think who the tight ends were, because that year, my junior and senior year, we went a lot of 3 wides. So that's why we had Torrey, we had Fitz, we had Shank, we had Murray Clayton, we had a lot of receivers. So we mostly went 3 wides, and then Burton would come in and be that extra lineman, if you will, / tight end. But we never really went 2 tight ends. We just didn't have the personnel for that. But we're mostly like 3 wides. We should have went 4 wides. We should have spread it out. And hell, we even tried to use what's his name at H-back, using Chad at H-back. But they said that we didn't grasp that offense. I truly believe our coaching staff didn't know how to teach or coach that.
They didn't know how to teach the spread back then. Yeah.
Huh?
They didn't really know how to teach the spread.
No, they definitely not. So we could have put like so many. Oh man, we would have been great in using Chad as like a tight end / H-back, having 3 wides, and then putting me in the shotgun. And like I said,
split zone with play action, Chad going across,
all that kind of stuff. And then even reading it, you know what I'm saying? I know I could have gotten 4 to 6 yards easily. Like I could have gotten 4 to 6. Read that backside edge.
You were pretty big too for a FCS quarterback. You were bigger. So
yeah,
I mean you're not like.
But the thing is,
FCS quarterbacks are like 6'1", 6 feet.
Yeah, I was never taught any of that stuff. So if I would have been able to train like that and do that stuff, I know for a fact I would have been in the positives.
You know who's in the wrong 100% in the wrong system? Zeke Rogers.
Oh, no doubt.
He should have just been in gun, like literally 5, just chucking it 9,000 times.
Throwing it 50
times.
With
one back that he gives the ball to.
Every now and then. Yeah.
He'll
throw for 400 yards, and they may not only win like 4 games, but that dude will sling it around the rock. Man, he had a cannon, bro.
He got that. I have to say, like, the transfer portal is for guys like him.
Absolutely.
Like, the second Skip came in there, he would have been on the internet. Who runs 5 wide? 4 wide.
Yeah.
Call that guy up. Hi, I'm 6'5" and I have a cannon. Yes, yes, we saw it. Yes, you started as a true freshman. Okay,
and I'm really smart.
And he's smart. He was very smart.
He's extremely smart.
Such a bad fit for Skip. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, because him and Skip, they were like 2 engines.
He's probably smarter than Skip.
I agree.
I'm not talking about football.
No. I'm just saying intellectually, you're absolutely right. I actually learned something from Zeke. One day before, when I was a redshirt freshman, I was going in and I'm like, this fucking guy is writing up plays and going through his reads with the grease on the grease board, and he's okay. If I go here, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is blah blah. If they do this, I'm doing this. I'm like, what the is he doing? This guy's like going through like a test, and I'll never forget though. I learned that from him to where I started doing that in my room the day of a game, where I'm like, okay, if we line up in this, they're going to line up in that. And this is what, like, I didn't do it in front of everybody. I did it in my room. And I took that with me because I was never taught that. The coaches never taught me, like, hey, look, this, and this. I learned it by watching Zeke, truly. And that's one thing I always did. I always watched other people and see how they prepared. And then I'm like, ooh, I could use that for me.
When I was roommates with Zeke, and I wasn't roommates with him when you came. Oh, no, I guess maybe your true freshman year, I was still roommates with him.
You were, right? Yes.
So I think you were in a room a couple times. He had a computer. He was the only person I knew who had a computer we had a computer in our room. He actually had a computer, so we could do our own. We didn't have to go to what do you call it, CPIA or the computer to do it, the lab. He had a computer, so I used to be able to do my stuff on his computer. I used to do I was like, dude, when he was not my roommate anymore, then I had to fucking go to CPIA. But I used to do my roommate. I was so pissed. I was like, damn, he used to have the computer. So he had a computer, and you could actually go and obviously there was no internet, but you did you did all your whatever your documents were on it. And he had a printer. Did he have a printer too? I think he did.
They probably did.
Probably did. So I was like, wow, that was so eye-opening to me. It was like, I was like, oh my God, this guy has his own computer. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know anyone that had it. He was the first person. The only other person I knew in my life before that had a computer was there was a kid I went to high school with. His father worked for IBM, and he would get like the new computers that were coming out to test. His father was like an engineer, and he would have the computers, and we used to play like computer games on his house.
Oh yeah,
because he was the only other person I knew that had a computer until Zeke. I couldn't believe when Zeke had. I was like, he's like, yo, you could use it if you want. I'm like, really?
You're like, yeah.
Like, yo, you gotta stay as my roommate.
Yeah. All right, man. Hey, get out of here.
All right. Yep.
Let me get out of here.